The divide. After World War II, Korea was divided at the 38th parallel, with the Soviet Union occupying the north and the United States occupying the south. This division created deep political and ideological differences. The invasion. In 1950, North Korea, backed by the Soviet Union, launched a surprise invasion of South Korea. The goal was to reunify the country under communist rule. The UN response. The United States, fearing the spread of communism, led a United Nations force to defend South Korea. This marked the first major armed conflict of the Cold War. A stalemate. The war was incredibly bloody and lasted 3 years. While the North Koreans initially made significant gains, the tide eventually turned and the front lines stabilized near the original border. The aftermath. The Korean War ended in an armistice, not a peace treaty. This means that technically, the two Koreas are still technically at war today. The Korean peninsula remains divided, and tensions between the two countries persist. The Cold War was a period of intense rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union, two superpowers with vastly different political and economic systems. The United States championed democracy and capitalism, while the Soviet Union promoted communism and socialism. Both superpowers engaged in a massive arms race, developing and stockpiling nuclear weapons. This created a constant fear of nuclear war, a terrifying prospect that hung over the world for decades. The Cold War played out in many parts of the world through proxy wars, where the United States and the Soviet Union supported opposing sides in conflicts around the globe. This fueled instability and conflict in many regions. The Cold War also fueled a space race, as both superpowers competed to be the first to achieve spaceflight milestones. This competition ultimately led to significant advancements in technology and scientific knowledge. The Soviet Union eventually collapsed in 1991, marking the end of the Cold War. This was a momentous event that reshaped the global political landscape. The domino theory. The United States became involved in Vietnam out of fear of the domino theory, which predicted that if one country in Southeast Asia fell to communism, others would quickly follow. A protracted conflict. The Vietnam War was a long and bloody conflict, with hundreds of thousands of casualties on both sides. The United States faced fierce resistance from the Viet Cong, a communist guerrilla force. War movement. The war was deeply unpopular in the United States, leading to widespread protests and social unrest. The Vietnam War had a profound impact on American society, challenging deeply held beliefs about war and government. The fall of Saigon. In 1975, the North Vietnamese Army captured Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam. This marked the end of the war and the reunification of Vietnam under communist rule. In 1962, the Soviet Union secretly installed nuclear missiles in Cuba, an island nation just 90 miles off the coast of Florida. This move by the Soviets was a direct threat to the United States, and a tense standoff ensued. The world held its breath as the two superpowers teetered on the brink of nuclear war. After 13 days of intense negotiations, a deal was reached. The Soviets agreed to remove their missiles from Cuba, and the United States pledged not to invade Cuba. On September 11, 2001, terrorists hijacked 4 commercial airplanes and used them to attack the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. The attacks claimed thousands of lives and shocked the world. The United States responded by launching a global war on terror, which included military operations in Afghanistan and Iraq. These events shaped the 20th century and continue to have a profound impact on the world today. They serve as a reminder of the importance of peace, diplomacy, and understanding in an increasingly interconnected world.